Hi, Susanna.
Hi,
This is Judy Witz-Francini from Tuscany of Divina Cucina. And tonight, my guest is Susana Trilling from Oaxaca, from Seasons of My Heart Cooking School. Susanna, it's such a pleasure. We're supposed to be coming back from Sicily right now.
I know. The world's a little different now.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, Susanna, when did we meet? What year? We were ISCP friends, so culinary professionals.
Yeah, we met, my son is 25, so I was pregnant. It was 25 years ago.
I remember you came up on the bus, right, to Texas.
Right, yeah, and I was 7 months pregnant, and I thought this is the last thing I was ever gonna do in my life, as terms of business or something. And I think you were the first person I met.
Oh my God, how fun. So
and you were so joyous.
Were you already teaching cooking? Did you already have that big, beautiful space in Oaxaca?
I was teaching out of my home, and I was teaching already because I've been teaching for like 2 years before that, but I've been teaching since the 70s, actually.
So if people don't know you, why don't you just tell us your backstory?
Okay, I'm from the US, from Philadelphia, and I come from, I have Mexican heritage and also Russian Jewish heritage. And I really have embraced the Mexican heritage, I must say. And I've lived in Oaxaca about 32 years. I was a chef when I was 21. And in 1976 was my first chef's job, the bicentennial year. And I know
in Philadelphia, right? Yeah.
Well, in Cape May, New Jersey, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then in a summer, it was a Victorian hotel resort. And then I was in Austin, Texas, and I was a chef at Fonda San Miguel and Swedish Hill. And then I moved to New York City, and I was in New York for 8 years with, I had 2 restaurants and a catering business. And I started Seasons of My Heart in 1980 as a catering business. And then I moved to Australia for a year and a half to do a restaurant for the America's Cup. And then I came to Oaxaca, and I've been here ever since. I've been here about 32 years.
Now, don't I've been traveling around,
but I've been cooking
with,
for a long time.
New Orleans or New Orleans food or something? Was that your
restaurant?
Well,
I had a restaurant in New York from New Orleans. My first ex is a musician, and his family's all from New Orleans. And so I got recipes a lot from his aunts and different people. I traveled a lot to New Orleans and had a New Orleans restaurant in New York in the 80s called Bon Temps Roulette. And I had a Mexican restaurant called Rick's Lounge. And I know, and somebody told me, like, don't you follow yourself? Don't you look on Google? Because they said I named it after Rick Bayless and he followed me there. It was this whole story that was totally false, which was kind of funny. And they thought I named it Rick's Lounge after Rick Bayless, which is really funny.
Isn't that crazy?
And I know. And so, and I've always done catering since the 70s, and Mexican food. Like, my thing was more like classical Mexican, also Texan food. So we did Tex-Mex as like a different thing, and then Cajun Creole because of Tony and his family. I did a lot of Cajun. I love Cajun food. I still love it today.
Mm-hmm. And what made you, back in the first time, what made you want to be a cook?
When I was like 10 years old, I started to make, I had 3 sisters. I have 3 sisters. And so we had to divide up the chores. And so, because my mom went back to teaching, and so we could set the table, do the cooking, wash the dishes, and there was one other one. And I loved the cooking. So I really loved to do the cooking, and I just got into it when I was quite young. Yeah, I found it fascinating to me, and I loved, any kind of cooking. And I went to camp, and so we learned how to, bake bread in a brown paper bag, and all kinds of stuff. Doing all the badges and Girl Scouts. I mean, I always loved cooking. And when I was in high school, I was a chef for 30 kids. We went to the Appalachian Mountains. It was called Project Concern, and we built a community center.
Oh, how fun.
And so I was the cook for 30 kids for like a month and a half. And that was amazing to me. And then I knew, and every day I had like a couple different breads to choose from and eggs, for the morning. And then I was just so into it.
Uh-huh.
And so I've always done it.
That's
I've
great.
always loved cooking. Yeah.
And then I
So
remember,
now I love teaching
yeah.
cooking because I
So
think it
I've been
excites
down to
people.
your place twice. The first time was just Andrea and I, and then the second time was my friend Mark and Steven for like a birthday trip or something. I don't remember why. And I remember it was just so fabulous because I loved going to the market with you, and it was like a wild trip because you sent the driver for us. We were staying downtown in Oaxaca, and then we're driving down this highway, this nice big road. And all of a sudden, he's like, "Whoa," and he goes off the side, and we're driving through a river and down this hill, and it's like, where
I
is he
know.
taking us?
I know. People, we started to put like a little notice for the people saying, don't be alarmed if the guy takes you to, through a river. It's
You're not
okay,
being
because people
kidnapped.
would
Yeah.
get like, exactly.
It was
So
so much
that was
fun
kind
though.
of funny.
I should have
Yeah.
brought
And I
down, I have
remember,
hanging in my
Judy.
house still, I bought fabrics at the market, those hand embroidered fabrics from the little ladies
yeah.
there, and that was so fabulous.
And what I remember when you came the first time was one day you would cook and you do some fabulous Italian thing that we were all dying for. And then the next day I would cook and you guys were dying because I was doing Mexican, and we were like having alternate cooking days. But we both cooked together, but we orchestrated, and it was so much fun.
But I
That
think
trip
it
when
really
you
is too
came.
fun, the combinations of cultures and everything, And when you travel and you do pick up those recipes, and I remember, I think I picked up your mole book. I don't,
Mhm.
was your Seasons of My Heart book already out then?
No, that book was my search for the seventh mole,
Mm.
the first one that I wrote, the little one.
Yeah, the paperback.
And yeah, and then I wrote that when my son was he was like 9 months or something, because he was on my back going with me through the village trying to find the 7 moles of Oaxaca, like for Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I guess that was that was my first one, and then the next one came with the PBS. It was a companion book for the PBS series,
And
and
what
that was
year
in
was that?
1999.
Wow.
1999.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like
so
a Bible, that book. It's like I should have had it out here. Do you have it in front of you?
No,
It's actually up in my room. I keep it up in my
I can
bedroom.
get it though. I can get it. It's right
That's
here.
okay. We'll put a link
Okay.
when I put the.
All right, that's good.
I'll put a link.
That's good. Okay.
And then you wrote another book now.
Right. I have another book called Milpa, From Seed to Salsa, and Milpa is growing the corn, beans, and squash together, and also the whole sociological structure that goes with that, which is people planning in community. It was for a group of farmers in the Mixteca, which is one of the regions of Oaxaca,
Mhm.
and we went like to all these different villages that were included in this group called Sedicom, and it was a farming group teaching people farming, and they got what's it called, the Goldman Prize, which is like kind of like the Grammys for the ecological scene. Yeah, Devira, she knows what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So so they won this prize, and so then they got the money matched from the son of one of these richest guys in the US, who does a lot of philanthropical work and ecological work. So they had, so we were trying to do is get them away to raise money, but I was going around and recording recipes from each village and then teaching them a recipe everywhere I went. It was more of an exchange that way.
Mhm.
And then at the end, we gathered all the people, we paid their way like door to door. They came to the cooking school for it was kind of a weekend tire, and all of these women, and they all came, and some of them had never been out of the village. It was amazing. Some of them, there's a couple that their husbands wouldn't let them go,
That's great.
but,
Yeah.
But we were connected with this, minister and his wife. And so a lot of people let them go because and so we all cooked together in the cooking school, and everybody brought like tortillas or lard or chorizo or honey, like whatever they had, just the littlest thing. Everybody brought a gift. It was one of the best days I've ever had at
I
the
mean, that
cooking
sounds like
school.
a real Thanksgiving, you know?
It was like a real Thanksgiving. And I mean, I was almost crying just receiving all these. They came one by one up the stairway and like bestowed me with these gifts. Yeah, it was amazing. It was
And the other
truly.
thing too, when did you guys, when you actually moved to Oaxaca, you guys started a farm though first, right?
Well, Eric, I mean, I came to Oaxaca by myself,
Okay.
and then Eric came to Oaxaca with the kid's father, and he was building a house. But we met I went to volunteer to school for handicapped children, like when I had my restaurants in New York, and then I was there for like a month because I just needed a break, and then went back, and we started to do fundraising for the school. And while I was in Australia, the founder of the school died.
Oh,
And so there was a Swedish school teacher who's my comadre now, but she said, "Why can't you come and help me, please? You know, I've got 44 kids." So right after Australia, I went to Oaxaca on the coast, and this is called Zipolite, and it's known because it's a nude beach and it's kind of a hippie hangout kind of thing. But the school was there, and it's this point of energy on the beach, which is like super fuerte in the Pacific Ocean. And so I went there to help out, and then I re-met Eric, who I had met before in New York, right before I moved to Australia. We re-met again, and then I went to Oaxaca and visited him, and then that was the beginning of the end of my my free days. No, you know what I mean.
wait, Susanna, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you
Okay.
accidentally touch those things, they turn off. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, all right. So we started, he was growing. Like our first date, he picked me up. I thought he was going to take me out for dinner. I was like all dressed up, waiting with these friends in this bar. And he shows up in like shorts and this t-shirt. And he goes, "Come on, we're going to irrigate watermelons."
Oh,
And I
that's a
was
hot
like,
date.
"Oh my
I
God."
should have told you
That was
something
a
right
hot
away.
date. Exactly. Under the full moon. I mean, it was really kind of faded, you know?
That's so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, because
So,
I think when I
yeah. So
came,
we grew. When you came, we were growing, right? We were
yeah, you were
growing
growing, and I
everything.
think what Kalen had just been born. I remember
Mm-hmm.
a little boy with like bangs walking around. He was
Yeah.
maybe still in diapers. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was Kaylin. Uh-huh.
Who is
Yeah.
now? Where's Kalen?
Oh, who's now a chef in Yountville for Thomas Keller, one of Thomas Keller's restaurants called La Calenda. And it's a Mexican restaurant. And Kaylin was the first chef that Thomas brought in as an outsider to teach them about how to cook a type of cuisine, because everybody else from Thomas Keller works up in the ranks. And they're still open, but now it's takeout only, or I'm not
Takeout.
sure, but California
But that's
seems
great.
like,
That's really lucky. Yeah. And I remember when we
Mhm.
had IACP, I forget where I was.
Oh, in Nashville,
Well,
right? Or
wherever
it
we
was
were, my friend came from
Chicago,
Memphis, who
maybe.
was an IACP member, and she picked me up, and I was going back to her place, and we were doing a party at her place, a cooking class. She had a kitchen shop with food and everything, and so we stopped in Nashville to go to see Kalen, and like it was his day off, and he came in and he cooked for us, and you could see the influences from you. I mean, his food is beautiful because most people, I think of Mexican food as, Tex-Mex and burritos
Yeah.
and tacos. But now, of course, we're getting Michelin star Mexican. But back then, and there was no beautiful sauces and presentations and colors and flowers on the plates done, elevated, making the best of it. Well, before I came to you, I went to Ricardo in Mexico City, and he had that
Mm-hmm.
restaurant at the museum. And that was really lovely. But it
Mm-hmm.
was all very simple. It wasn't Michelin star. It was the research, which I think is so important in any cuisine, really, the research and when you do stray away from those classic recipes, to acknowledge it. Because I find even too with
Yeah,
Italian food, someone says, oh, this is like pasta fagioli, but it's not how they make it where I live. Maybe it's how they make it in Puglia. So if I'm going to teach someone a recipe, I don't always have to do the food from where I am, but I think it's really
right.
beautiful to see the variations because even an hour away, there's different beans and different pastas
Yes.
and different handmade pastas. And also when you came here before went to Sicily together, you brought those, what's it called? A
Oh
tayuada?
yeah, and I brought one here
Oh,
with
good.
me
Yeah.
today. Because I like to show and tell. So this is a clayuda,
Oh, look,
and
there's
it's
Jody too. Do
hi
you see Jody?
Jody. I pulled
Oh,
out the clayuda and she pulled on the camera. That's great.
yeah. So
So
she brought those to Tuscany.
yeah, I brought these. These are a tortilla. A clayuda is a tortilla like this. It's crispy. Well, it can be when you first get them, they're a little pliable, but then we dry them out so we can keep them actually forever. But so, and then it's also the name of the dish where we put beans and quesillo, cabbage. I put chapulines, that's my thing, the grasshoppers. But a lot of people don't. They'll put like chorizo, cecina, or tasajo, which is
Well,
thin
it
sliced
kind of
pork.
reminds me of what like we know as like a tostada, but on
Yeah,
steroids,
but
right?
it's like yeah. And the thing that makes this, well, there's a couple things that make it different. Tostadas are really crispy, and these, when they're first made, they're like more sturdy than a blanda, like the fresh tortillas,
Mhm.
but they're still a little pliable. But we put on this one, we put a little bit of, I don't usually do it because I don't eat a lot of pork, but we put something called asiento,
You
which
brought
is
that.
the,
That was delicious. The pork fat
yeah,
kind of
and that's, and of course, and yeah, and the Italians would love that too. So it was it's the grease that's left over from making chicharron.
yummy, huh?
So it's that, and it has little bits of chicharron, and then you put it back in the molino and you grind it up so it's kind of thick and it spreads on. And then we put a layer of beans with avocado leaves and chili,
Mhm.
and then quesillo, which I brought also to you, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny because there's so much mozzarella, but
But
I
it's
brought the
different. It's
string
different
cheese.
though. But it's fun, the similarities, and also because of all the Spanish influence, well, the New World influence that the Spanish brought back, like from Mexico here, we wouldn't have a tomato.
I know. And that's the biggest thing I think. And when I think of Italian food, is the tomato, because it's native to here. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how the world has crossed over all these different
The
ingredients and things
influences.
like
Like where
that.
I am in
Yeah.
Florence, the Florentines are called bean eaters. And before
Called
the
bean
New
eaters.
World, there were no beans here. There was only the black-eyed pea and maybe a fava bean,
Uh-huh.
but there weren't,
Yeah, because that comes from Africa, the
yeah, there
black eyed
weren't
pea.
beans. So
Hmm.
I think that's funny how, and then as you're driving around here, especially in Sicily, when we saw all the cactus, the
Yeah. So
nopales and
that was the
the
next thing
tuna.
I wanted. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because that was really, to me, when we went to Sicily, I was so blown away because it looked like Mexico. It had like Oaxaca. I mean, it had the terrain, some of it, the coast, the mountains, but all the nopales, the
Volcanoes.
bougainvillea, the volcanoes we have, not in Oaxaca, but we can see. Um, but it's so interesting because um, when I stayed, remember we took that lunch with the kids who were
Yeah, that
like
was
the
great.
problem
Yeah.
kids. And yeah, so my friend Mario, who's a chef, it's part of a slow food project kind of, offshoot. And so he has a school for kids who are kind of wayward kids a bit, and they need to find a profession. So you can be a chef, or you can be a waiter, you can be a hairdresser.
Yeah, it was
They
a
have
great
all
little
these different,
center.
yeah. And so Judy and I, with the group, we went there for lunch, and the kids prepared this unbelievable buffet, both a savory buffet and a dessert buffet, because there's pastry chefs as well. And then the next day, everybody left in our group, and I stayed on and taught a class in cooking. And so and it was so cool because there was a lot of things we didn't have, but we went, and I put nopal salad on there, and they were shocked because they never eat nopales. They
Nobody.
only eat the tuna, like they only eat the fruit.
Uh-huh.
And then we didn't have tortillas, and they said, well, just make it. And we ground polenta and then just mixed it with water and made these tortillas. Then we cut the tortillas, we fried the tortillas, we made tortilla soup. I mean, it was so awesome.
Because that's just
So
it. So when Mexico again, so we look at all the ingredients that were from Mexico. So there was no tomatoes, there were no potatoes. That's more from Peru,
yeah,
the potatoes, but
Mesoamerica.
chili peppers.
Hmm.
I mean,
Chili.
everything from Italian cuisine got converted and became known for being part of the cuisine here. I mean, there's towns that raise these chili peppers that are really famous here now.
Yeah, and and then going the other way, we have a lot of every day pretty much people will eat a pasta called fideo.
Oh, I
They're
love
very
those.
thin pasta with a tomato broth.
Uh-huh.
And it's like every comida corrida, which means like food on the run. And you go to a restaurant and you have the plate, like the blue plate special of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
day, and you get a liquid soup,
yeah.
a dry soup, which is rice, or the pasta is always liquidy. And then you get the main course, the tortillas and the little dessert. But we often have pasta on our menus, and pizza is now huge here. I mean,
Uh-huh.
huge, huge, huge. And I'm trying to think of other Sicilian things, but or Italian things, but Italians seem like they have gone all over the world, and wherever they go, they make their food because they love their food the best.
Yeah, and with the
I mean,
whole
I
Marco
noticed that
Polo and the
about the
pasta.
Italians.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we talked about this, but last November, Susanna brought a group, and I host groups, and we travel together with groups. That's basically, I closed my cooking school, so I don't really teach private lessons anymore. And so Susanna brought her group, and we did a coast to coast Sicily tour. And the thing I love is that how many things are so similar, and the use of the ingredients and going backwards and forwards. So I think the other thing that's really interesting is you guys got that fideo soup, and the Sicilians, I don't think we had it while we were there, but they only have their soups with little like spaghetti broken up in it.
Oh, and that's how ours is.
And
It's
that's how
the
yours
little
is. So maybe
spaghetti
I
real
came
thin.
back from Sicily from the pasta, because the Sicilians, like, we'll have soup with no rice, nothing in it. But the Sicilians, their soup always has the broken spaghetti in it. So it's usually a light
Uh-huh.
broth with tomatoes and maybe some vegetables or some wild greens in there. And always you break up your spaghetti. I mean, now they sell those little fideos, those
Yeah.
little ones too, for having with broth. But if not, you just break
Hmm.
up your spaghetti. And the thing, of course, that I couldn't wait to show you was the chocolate in Modica.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was amazing. So
Ruta
that guy, I love him.
con aiuto, yeah.
And
So
and
they
so
have the same chocolate that they make in Oaxaca in this city called Modica. And so the
and it's
Spanish
known.
brought those, what's called a metate
No, the metate, and
grinder.
later the molino, but the metate was the original.
Mhm.
And he has the stone grinding machine, and now he has like a little electric one with these two wheels. It's a little more modern, and of course, because the
Yeah,
Italian,
because he's producing a larger quantity too. But
yeah,
I
and
think that
and
was so
also the
funny,
Italians are so good with design. Yeah,
all the
yeah,
research.
but what's so interesting was that he had all these flavors, and he did all this stuff with the same, well, I would say Oaxacan chocolate or Mexican chocolate. He
Yeah,
did this same thing, but he took it like a whole step farther in terms of the flavor, which was really good.
yeah.
But
But he's got little
that
little
was a
bites
great
now
trip.
with like seaweed and the sea salt and all the spices and
Yeah,
herbs and fruits and now do you remember the water, the chocolate cocoa water we had there?
yeah, that's
Was
like
that
how
done
we
with the
have it as well.
nibs, or was that done with another part of the bean? Do you remember?
So it's
It's like a tea.
the water, it's, well, there's two ways. We have it with we use the chocolate paste that we make, like
No, but do
a
you remember
handle
what we had with him?
like this. With him, we had it, I think it was like maybe with the cascara, because I was going to say there's two ways to do it. One is with the shell.
Mhm.
When you clean the shell, you have all the shells, and you can make a tea with that.
That's what
And
I think he did.
I've been using that. I make like a pear marmalade, and I use the cacao shells
Mhm.
ground up. Like I make like a tea bag with one of these kind of cloth tea bags and put it in, and to give out the
Yeah, I thought
flavor of the
that flavor
cacao
was
in there.
fabulous because now
Yeah,
he's doing bean to bar also, and that was really interesting, that new space that he had there. Yeah. So
yeah.
Deborah wanted
No,
to
he's
know, what
cool.
do Sicilians do with cactus? They only eat the fruit, what
Yeah.
Susanna calls tuna and what we call fichi di India, figs from India. And
Oh,
they peel them and eat the fruit for breakfast in the morning. Like any breakfast buffet will always have a tray of them already cleaned for you. So they have little,
red and green.
pardon?
Are they
Red
prickly?
and green.
They're all different
Yeah.
colors.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yellow,
they're
orange,
called
red.
prickly pear. They
Yeah,
are
prickly
called prickly
pears.
pear in the
And the
US.
most
Yeah.
famous and sought after one in Italian is called opuncia. It's the one that's almost the color of your top.
Oh,
The one
uh-huh.
that's like a magenta hot pink.
Yeah,
And that's really sought
yeah,
after for like making the granita or the gelato.
yeah. Same with us. We have the same use for that. We use it for water, or we make a lot of ice cream. And it's interesting because whenever you have that ice cream with the tuna, they serve it with burnt milk ice cream,
Oh,
which they
yummy.
actually burn the milk and
Mm,
then make the ice cream. So it's white, and then they put the tuna
that
ice
color.
cream on top. And they serve it a lot at weddings, which I kind of think that's really funny because I think it's kind of like a marriage, it's like burnt
Yeah,
milk and exotic fruit.
yeah, that's nice. My friend Paul DeBont, who's a Dutch chocolate maker here in Tuscany, married a Tuscan woman, and they do a bar that represents them. And so he's from Holland, so he has milk chocolate, and she's Tuscan, so it's
Uh-huh.
bittersweet. So it's a chocolate bar with 2 layers with sea salt in the middle.
Oh, that's fabulous.
It's
That's
delicious.
great.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. What's the name of that? What's the
I don't
name?
remember what he calls it right now.
Okay.
I'll let you know. We're
All right.
ordering our Christmas cake from him, the panettone.
Uh-huh.
They have a Christmas cake, and it's all covered, dipped in chocolate with like whole candied orange slices and beautiful candied fruits. And he makes everything himself. So he's a pastry chef, and then he went into chocolate. And most people who add chocolate to things, they don't know what they're doing with the chocolate, kind of. So yeah, that's our special treat. Last year we got the one from the pistachio woman in Sicily on Mount Etna.
That was amazing. And I took that to California to
Oh,
have that with
wow.
my kids for Christmas
Wasn't
or
it
for New Year's
delicious?
last year. Oh my God, it was amazing. And then I bought that pistachio butter.
Yeah.
And so we smeared the pistachio butter on that. That was truly amazing. And I've thought about it this morning because Jesse is going up to California to spend it with his brother, because he's already had COVID actually. And so he's got the antibodies, and he wants to be with Kaylin. And so, I was just so jealous that he was leaving me, and just, for one. And then secondly, and I was just thinking about that panettone from last year, because I've been going a couple years in a row up there to
Oh, nice.
spend the
Yeah.
holidays with them up there, because they've both been up there for the holidays. So yeah, but that was so good. And I was thinking, I wonder if anybody would deliver that to me here.
That
No,
would be
I think
hard, but
that's
I
very
just went
special.
grocery shopping to get things. I'm doing a dessert class for a friend of mine on the weekend, and they have that panettone in my grocery store now. The panettone
Oh.
covered in the pistachio with the cream, and the jar of cream is in the box with it.
From those people,
Yep.
from the Sicilians
Yeah,
that
my
we
grocery
visited. Wow,
store.
they were amazing. Wow, that's smart.
And then last week I was craving that they make, remember the little brittle that they make with sesame seeds and the pistachio? I was craving that, so I taught a class on how to make that because I wanted some.
That's good. I
The
like that.
Sicilian
I
brittle
do
with
that too.
pistachios.
I
So
teach
Susanna,
things I
also,
want
I
to
wanted
eat.
to ask you, because not too long ago, you opened a shop in Oaxaca, right? Because you brought cheeses back from Sicily. That was so much fun
Yeah,
shopping. But so how long have you had that place before like the pandemic hit?
I had it maybe, I think 3 years, 2 or 3 years, I think. And we closed in September. because they raised the rent, and then
How
it was
stupid
a
during such a
struggle.
tough time.
I know. And we kind of thought in the beginning, like, oh, this will happen. Well, like everybody, this will be, we can get through July, or we can get through, but we never dreamed it would be as long. And also, it just, when she raised the rent, we were like, you know what, we've got to let go. And so, and that was a good move actually for us to get more consolidated, and trim down a lot. But yeah, I was collecting cheeses from all over. We still do, like, we have like a little cheese club that, people do order from us and we deliver. But it's a lot slower now. We have to maybe promote more. But yeah, so we had that. But now we've just shifted because we haven't done a live class in March. And so now we're doing Zoom classes. And I wish that we could do like cheese tastings and stuff like that. But the problem is, for us, it's hard to ship things to the US and
Yeah.
have it arrive
Yeah.
on time and within a reasonable price, because it's very expensive.
It's really
And
complicated.
also,
Yeah.
it's so complicated between the two countries. We have a few distributors who handle retail in the US.
Well,
And
tell them also what's your product line. You have products that you sell through what, Zingerman's?
well, through Zingerman's and through food related out of Texas. And then we're going to be going back on Amazon. So I have chocolate. This is our chocolate.
And are those little discs of chocolate?
They're not discs. They're like bars, and they have a little line in the middle, and then we have
chocolate? Is that eating chocolate or cooking chocolate?
well, we have it actually in little bags called munchies.
Oh,
and they're
saw
like
those,
little,
yeah.
we make miniature ones. Yeah. And that's our eating chocolate, but it's not because it doesn't have that smooth mouth feel. It's crunchy.
But I meant would you use any chocolate for mole as opposed to making hot chocolate? Use the same chocolate?
Well, we do, because we have this, I consider it like first class. It has more cinnamon and less sugar. So we use it, and that's how all our recipes are. We drink it, and we also use it in mole. And we're making a class in chocolate tamales coming up.
Oh, yummy.
December. Yeah, we're doing a savory tamal, which is tamales de rajas, and with either chicken or cheese. And then we're doing a chocolate tamale or tamales. And I think there's a sauce with that, like a little fruit sauce with that. So we're doing that. And then we also, like, this is a mole coloradito. We have this. So this is a paste. And because we manufacture it,
hold it up so people can see it. Wait, stop. Okay, right there. Mole coloradito. Okay. And what chili is in there?
So there's a blend of chilies: chili ancho, chili guajillo, chili morita. I think there's one other one, maybe the long
chili. And that's one of the classic
mexicana.
7 moles of Oaxaca?
Yeah. And it's like kind of 7 million, but yes, it is. And we make 3 pastes. We make a mole negro. This is a little one of our mole negro, which is the hardest one to make. And you have to burn the seeds and burn, it's a very dark chilies. And this has 5 chilies in there. And besides the one special chili called Chihuahua Negro, which is a special chili, very expensive, but worth it to put in, I think. And then, so we took the bread out of the equation because so many people are gluten-free now. And so people can just, if they want to thicken it, they can put a little tortilla chips in there to thicken it so there's no bread at all. Because a lot of people put bread because it's like a filler. And then we also took out the plantains because there's so many problems with diabetes and all this. And I figured people could add the plantain if they want or not. So so then people have to reconstitute it with tomatoes or tomatillos. So the chefs, we do a lot of distribution for chefs and food service. And so the chefs can make it and kind of claim it as their own. And so we're just helping them with the base.
Oh yeah, so it's like a base they can build on and personalize.
Yeah, and the home cooks do it too. People love it. So, yeah, so we've been selling that, and then we
Is the
make
mole
jellies
negro,
out
is
of
that the one
chili.
that they like, I think I was in that village, I forget the name of it now, you said it earlier. The one where all the surfers hung out and it was a beach town?
Oh, Puerto Escondido.
No, no.
That's where the surfers hang
Oh,
out.
yeah? I don't know where I was, but
Or Zipolite, but they don't surf in Zipolite. They surf in a place called Zicatela,
well, I was
which is
someplace,
part
I
of
don't
Puerto
remember where.
Escondido.
And early in the
Okay.
morning, they would come out with a cart and it had a whole turkey covered in the black mole.
Oh,
And then they would just like pull it off
wow.
and make tortillas for you. And I don't remember where I was, but it was like a hippy dippy
Oh,
town with surfers. And there was a bay, and there was like the sport fishermen went to one side and the surfers were on the
it
other.
sounds more like Puerto Escondido,
Maybe it was. Okay, yeah.
I think, because Zipolite, nobody can surf. It's so dangerous.
Okay, yeah. But that
Yeah,
was really
yeah.
funny. But I
But
loved that for breakfast if I didn't get there in time. And the other thing, I
yeah,
think
what a
we did
great,
this with
I
you
never
once
even heard of that.
with school too, once I think with you, that pumpkin cooked with the piloncino and cinnamon.
Piloncillo. Yeah, and I had a pumpkin here. Jesse grew like 80 pumpkins this
I
year.
saw that
So
photograph.
I've
That
been
was
doing,
amazing.
yeah, he grew a whole lot. And so I've been making pumpkin everything and experimenting. And that's been really good. Last week in our class, we did tamales that are, the pumpkin is cooked like that, calabaza and dulce, and then you mix it right in the masa.
Oh, how
And then
beautiful.
you reduce the syrup down and you put that in the masa instead of like chicken stock. So, and then
Delicious.
in the inside, the filling is this super spicy black beans made with this that we call chintezle paste, which is made from
You
the
brought me
pasillo
some.
oaxaqueño. Yeah, yeah.
So
So
Susan, I think that's what you should do
that's
too, is
amazing.
like, you should, through your company, like the people that sell your stuff in America, you should have them send ingredients from there.
Well, we're trying to
And
do
then you
that,
do the
and
classes based on like your shipping would be great.
yeah, I know that's the plan. It's we've done that for a few classes, and then so yeah. I mean, sometimes people can get it cheaper on Amazon and from other
Well,
countries.
that's true. Yeah.
People come and whatever they have. At this point, I'm just happy people are trying to cook the Mexican food, and people hold up whatever they're using, and some people use ours and some people use other stuff. And then I say, oh, if you're using that, don't put any more of this in, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know what it tastes like. Like don't put more bread, or you know what I mean, because it's all
Yeah. You
different
have to tweak it.
formulas.
That's the only thing too I get nervous about is when you teach a class to somebody and you have to use the ingredients which you have to make it good and make it
Yeah,
taste good. But then on the other side, even when I travel and teach, you don't always find the right ingredients. Maybe like those canned tomatoes are different and they have something in it that changes the flavor, or even between countries, the sugars are different, the flour is different, the butter is different, the oil is different, everything's
totally.
different. And there's no way it can necessarily be reproduced if you haven't already tasted it.
So the thing is that I find the most difficult is tasting for salt
Mhm.
and trying to tell the people to be intrepid. And we also have our salt. This is my best product, I think, of all. And it's all we do is put it in the sun and clean it.
Oh,
We have to
hold it
sun
up
it for
slowly
a
so
couple
Deborah can see
days.
it. Right there. Perfect. Okay, yeah. So
Okay. So
gourmet
this is
Mexican
salt.
sea salt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
And
it
so this
large
comes from,
granules or is it?
yeah. And it's a great crunch actually. And it comes from an area called the Isthmus of Tehuantepec from Salina de Marquez, it's the only hand harvested salt in Mexico. And it's the women that go out there and they harvest because they
Oh my
have that
God.
light touch and they can get the salt off the top layer, which is in France, it's
The
called
fleur de
fleur de
sel.
sel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best part. And so I've been working with them for about 28 years. I met this guy, he was the night watchman. I don't know how I met him, but I met him and then I went to visit him. And then he gave me like a little bit of salt. And then next time he gave me like a bigger bag. And then the next time, and I would bring him little things from Oaxaca. And then next time he gave me like a whole costal. And then we got to be friends. And then I lost track of him and started buying the salt from somebody else because we were already selling the salt. And then I was like, no, because we would pick out the salt and then they would send us this gray, horrible salt that we could only use for making ice cream or for animals. So we were like, no, no, no. And then I went with my son Jesse, and we were investigating, and we went back. I said, let's go to this place, and we went back and find out that the night watchman, and they're like, oh, you're the one that sent the chocolate. You gave him this moon with the sun, like, because I would bring him like little ceramic things from a Zompa. And so he was the head of this whole like distribution, and they were
Oh,
doing
isn't
like
that great, huh?
500,000 tons a year, all
Wow.
hand harvested.
Wow.
So I was like, I was so proud, and we were all crying, and it was like all exciting. But and then he's come up with the family, like if they ever have to have some kind of doctor's appointment in Oaxaca, they'll come visit us, and we feed them, and you know, so it's like a long-term relationship with them now.
Yeah, now you're
And
family, yeah.
yeah,
I think
it's
that's
so
what's great
cool.
about being like the foreigner in a foreign country is building up your relationships and really they're lifetime relationships. It's not like you go someplace once and then you just never go back there again. You have
Yeah,
your people. Oh my God, remember with the Duchess in Palermo?
yeah, yeah,
She was like, I
yeah,
belong to him.
yeah, yeah.
I
That's
belong
what
to
she
him.
said.
He's mine.
Yeah,
That's
and
my fish man.
yeah,
That's my
yeah,
vegetable man. That's my salt
yeah.
man. And you never, ever go to anyone else.
You
And
can't
I do the
switch.
same thing here. I'll go to my fish guy and I'll say, okay, I need some swordfish. And he goes, oh, I don't have any today. So I don't go to another shop. He goes to another shop for me, gets the
Yeah,
swordfish, and then he sells it to me.
yeah. No, that's
That's the way it
exactly
is.
the same way in Mexico, and same way in Oaxaca.
Yeah.
Like, or like, you know, or going to the market and eating. You know, I used to take people to have this goat soup in Tlacalula, with Doña Aurelia, and if like I would be with somebody else going to their person, and I would like,
Oh,
you
I
know,
can't hear you,
so
Susanna. Wait. Okay.
I would like go incognito because I was afraid that if she saw me, I
Yeah.
would be total,
You
you know,
betrayed her. You
mincemeat. But
betrayed her. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it was so funny, but you get that thing, and then you get these pangs of anxiety. But it's so true. It's so true.
That's really
And
great.
yeah. And I love that. And I think that's why I started the culinary tours around Mexico, was because around Oaxaca, is because I met all these cool people doing the television series, because it was
Yeah.
like on the road. And then we had several meetings, like going to cook with them, then scouting with them, with the TV people, and then shooting with them, and always hysterically fun times.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, I was like missing everybody. I'm like, well, I'm just going to start taking people here and do culinary tours. You know, it just hit me like, hey, why not? And then we can continue the love story, you know, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so, and I love now doing it with you in Sicily and going to Spain as well, because it makes a difference, and it makes a
Yeah,
difference in people's lives.
it does because
That's
I
what
think
I think.
they're different trips. And I always tell anybody wherever you go, um, it's good to have like a mom, someone that takes care of it. You know, Deborah goes to Rome a lot, and they rent an
Uh-huh.
apartment, and they have their person in Rome. And when you have someone that you build a relationship with, you're not a tourist anymore, and you see a different world. And I think it's so important because, I mean, it's beautiful just to be able to come and travel. That's a gift, and I
Hmm.
think everyone right now is really realizing what we're missing out on and losing by not being able to travel. But it does change your life, and especially when you've met people and they become a part of your life, and it's really special. I mean,
Yeah.
I taught like American college kids, and my first cooking classes were in 1988. And I taught for like 10 years. I still get notes from those kids. You
Uh-huh.
know, someone
And
went on
now
a
they have
movie.
their own kids, right?
Oh yeah, and they've come back with their kids. I want to take my wife
Yeah.
and my son and go on the market tour like we did when, when I was in college there. And, and somebody just the other last month or 2 months ago, one of my friend's sons was traveling with his friends. And she goes, could you see my son while he's in Florence? I said, sure. I said, I'll invite him to dinner or whatever. So I invited him and his three friends for dinner, and I made a huge big meal. I mean, I know how it is when you're traveling and backpacking, you're starving to death all the time. And so I made this huge big dinner, and I bought beer and I had wine, I had everything going for them. And I'm waiting for them because they're not showing up. I look out my window, which was onto the Central Market. And on the corner, I see four boys like sitting around. Every once in a while, someone's getting up, running away, and coming back and sitting down again. And it turns out they didn't want to be like too early. So they were there playing some stupid like college game, and the person that lost had to go buy a beer or something. And so and then like when they came, I swear one of the guys cried. It was like being home, being in somebody's home. They did you real food. You didn't have to worry about what you're eating or trying to order something in a foreign language. It's just
That's
so
awesome.
special. Yeah. And he now is in the military. This one boy is in the military in Germany. And I think maybe it was in September. He goes, "Oh my God, yeah, I've got my wife and my two kids. We'd love to come and do that class with you at the market and then come back and eat." I mean, that was like, 20 years ago, not doing that anymore. And then it was COVID, and then he's in the military. So he could come to Florence, but he couldn't go to Genoa, or he wouldn't be allowed in, or he would have to go into quarantine or something. So they just decided not to come down. It was just too much. But yeah. So what else, Susanna? What else should we tie this up with? You've got your line of products that people can get in America. When I post this, and I'll post it on my YouTube channel, Divina Cucina, we'll put some links to like your website, and you've got your classes.
All right, and then Carlos, who's here, he'll respond to you and sign you up if you want to come, or anything like that. And so I was going to ask you, what is the best new dish that you've done during the pandemic, or something you had never cooked before? Have you cooked anything new? I know you've been working a lot on doing your classes.
Well, I think I've
Patreon page.
Yeah, because I opened a Patreon page, so it's like €5 a month, and I do a recipe, a video recipe that's edited, so people can watch it whenever they want to in the PDF. And so I think it's inspired me to look for the different regional foods, not just Florentine, and so expose everybody to different places. And I've had a lot of people that just like loved. We have these little, they're called bombette, and they're slices of pork filled with cheese and more pancetta, and then they're rolled up and they're grilled, and they're like they're food that's made at a butcher that has a butcher restaurant in the back room. So they have these butchers that are in the front of the shop, and then when you know where to go or what time, you go around the back usually, and they're connected, and there's usually always over charcoal. They do shish kebabs of meat. They do shish kebab with potatoes. They do rolled stuffed things, and you go this, and this, and then they cook it for you over the grill. And then there's like a back room where everybody's like hanging out, having a little food orgy at the butcher's. Wow. And that's only, again, like in one small region of, it was in Puglia that we went to that had that. And so that was really fun. And a lot of things from Puglia. I go to Puglia, take people to Puglia now, and to Sicily, which I think are still pretty much undiscovered, less discovered maybe than Venice, Rome, and Florence. People now are maybe reaching out to Naples. Last winter I was in Naples with my nephews, and that was really fun. There's just
I think a lot of people are
regional food that I don't get unless I go somewhere. Do you ever crave any other Mexican dishes than your region?
Oh yeah, I do. I crave a lot of Yucatecan food, because I think I've been there the most, and I have the fondest memories of Yucatecan food. And I think and also Veracruzano food, because it's a lot of fish and seafood.
Fish, yeah. I remember.
Yeah, I like that as well.
That was great.
Yeah, I do. And not so much other food except Mexico City. I mean, Mexico City has such great food. Right? Such good food and such good street food. That's it's just unbelievable.
Wait, I can't hear you. It keeps going away.
It's so international. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, now.
And so I think that's what I crave. I've been really craving like Middle Eastern food, like falafel.
You know what I just did? I don't know why I've never done this before, but it's such a pain when you want falafel here to take the dry chickpeas and soak them and grind them and do all that. We have Tuscan chickpea flour. So I just took the chickpea flour and made a little polpetta, a little falafel
Uh-huh.
using chickpea flour. Oh my God, I could do that like every day. I don't have to
Yeah.
think about it, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the same consistency because it's more delicate,
Mm-hmm.
but I can do that. So I'm growing my own cilantro now.
Great. Oh
So
yeah, I have a whole vegetable, like not vegetable, but greens and herbs now
yeah, yeah.
that I
And
didn't
I
have
got
before. I never had time.
I have lemongrass in my backyard, 2 big plants of it now. So things that for me, I
Yeah.
would have to drive an hour to go get them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I think even though the pandemic is really hard, it's giving us the gift of time and being able
Absolutely.
to concentrate more. And well, both of us, and I know like Kate's here too, there's so many of us that have been here for like 30 years that's kind of a cycle of work. I mean, I was like 30 when I left California, and I've been here 36 years now. And so it is that pivoting time in your life anyway, where you don't have to work so hard because we're there. We're the people that have been doing it for 30 some years, you know? And now
Mm-hmm.
30-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
are coming and they're starting over from scratch. But we have the gift of being able to, you know, go online. We have experience and we have the access to friends and enough knowledge, I think, to write or the photography like we've done and where you've been and promoting friends and just the stories that we have that we could tell, I think are also something that, like, I know you said you're thinking about doing another book, you know, and it's things like that that
Yeah.
you wouldn't have stopped to do that. I mean, you need time and concentration, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like it's been a gift for me too, even though it's, it's a
Hard.
struggle
Yeah.
financially, but the rest has been so fruitful for me is like to have the time. And I think for me, time is the biggest thing because it gives me time like to meditate or to exercise or to just look at what everybody's doing or look at books that I have never looked at for a long time, just all these things. And, it's a whole reshuffling. And yeah, and what I really like too is these online conferences
That
because
was
I
really
just thought,
fun, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and I've been involved with a couple now, and it's just so interesting because you can really see what people are doing all over the world. I mean, I think it's gotten the world much closer,
I
even
think
though
it's
we're
been
not
really
physically
stimulating. Yeah,
traveling.
that's it. The access to and face to face, like having Zoom. I'm before it was like Skype or Facebook Live, but the whole thing about like Zoom and all those other new programs that have come out where you can actually be face to face with like multiple people and like a little puppy dog.
I know, the
And
cutest
it's
doggy.
really it's fabulous. So I'm trying to always like make the best of it, even though every once in a while it's like, oh my God, I can only stay in bed today. I can't even think about it. I just want cookies and milk. It's just like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
heavy not being able, like, we're in red zone still, maybe till Saturday, and they just announced that maybe until January 8th or something, we can't like leave the area we live in. And that's really heavy. I mean, to
Mhm.
not to be able to go to Florence or
Yeah.
see Dario the butcher or places you just normally go. I mean, we're kind of used to sitting at home anyway because we're old now, but it's not being able to take those few days and just get like an inspiration or go to a little trattoria or restaurant to go look at a castle or do something that feeds your
Yeah.
soul, you know, be with friends.
Right.
Not dining with friends, I think is really hard
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, Susanna, we have to
That
go.
is also.
So thank you so much. And thank you to
Okay.
all of you who came. I'm going to turn
Thank you
off
to
the
everybody that
Facebook Live
came.
right now, if I can figure that out too. So thank you to Susana Trilling from Oaxaca. And I'll
Thank
be
you
back
so
in a couple
much.
weeks with a new guest. It'll be a surprise. Thank you for attending.